Ladies, gentlemen, as you just saw, we just concluded a briefing on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. The situation is indeed troubling, and we're generally concerned for the well-being of the Palestinian people. For this reason, Israel continues to send hundreds of truckloads of food and medicine into Gaza, and it is the reason we set up a field hospital to treat injured Palestinians. I would also like to remind you that this is the reason Israel agreed to every humanitarian ceasefire up to now. Hamas broke each and every one of these ceasefires, including the ones that they themselves initiated. This goes to show how much Hamas cares for its own people. Members of the international community have been quick to condemn Israel, but slow to condemn Hamas for its war crimes. Hamas is using its own people as human shields. It hides rockets inside mosques. It sets up command centers in hospitals. It booby-traps homes. In one school, in one street, in Gaza, out of 28 buildings, 19 were completely booby-trapped, and we have found explosives within a baby crib. Now, I'd like to show you something which basically makes that clear. This is an aerial photograph showing a launch site launching missiles of Hamas 34 meters and 27 meters away from two elementary schools and the local high schools. I'll repeat that again. A Hamas launcher 34 and 27 meters away from two elementary schools and a local high school. This is what we are talking about, Hamas committing a double war crime. Look at the vicinity here. There's no wonder that there are civilian casualties, because they're using mosques, elementary schools, hospitals to fire towards Israel. That when it comes to Hamas, some in the international community employ the yes but response. Yes, Hamas calls for Israel's destruction, fire rockets at Israel's cities and kidnaps Israeli teens, but they say Israel brought this on itself. But the double standard doesn't stop here. When the peace process was moving forward and Hamas fired rockets into Israel, you told us that Hamas is trying to destroy the peace process. Now, when the talks are stalled, you tell us that Hamas is firing rockets because the peace process isn't moving forward. Well, you can't have it both ways. Ladies and gentlemen, the Palestinian Delegate, who represents a government that includes a terror organization, had the audacity to lecture my country, the only democracy in the Middle East, on the protection of civilians and the value of human life. His accusations, usually half-truths and errors of omission over the past few years, provided the perfect background noise to drown out the sounds of Hamas digging in its terror tunnels. Have you ever heard the Palestinian Delegate say something constructive? Have you ever heard him assume responsibility for anything? Have you ever heard him denouncing Hamas for using its own people as human shields? A word about Hamas? Of course not. It's much easier to blame Israel than be accountable for his actions and the actions of his government. And I want to remind everyone that unity does not equal impunity.